Hey there guys, what's going on? My name is Rabbit and welcome to episode number 42 of Let's Play through Final Fantasy Origins, specifically Final Fantasy 1 on the PlayStation 1. In our previous episode we made it to the Tower of Mirage and honestly we spent admittedly a little too long farting around. So we are struggling our way through, but we did pick up a couple of nice little trinkets and treasures, so we can't be too terribly mad about everything that we did undertake together in our last episode. I don't think it's necessary for us to have a super long spiel. We are just going to slowly make our way to the tippy top of this tower because there is still one additional fiend for us to take out, as well as one final crystal for us to go ahead and illuminate. So let us continue with our endeavor to save the world, and I do have a healing held now, which is super duper nice. So if we want to, we could technically get 2 rounds of AoE heals out, which is kind of nice actually, because on their own we've seen on numerous occasions that the 20 or so health points that are replenished from just that basic level AoE heal, it's not a whole lot to work with at all. So getting more is going to be great. And yes, of course, I must apologize. Musashi is really in his feelings right now. So be ready for quite a bit of shenanigans from my dogs. I just can't catch a break, but I guess that's okay. So we will just keep on keeping on. And as always, of course, I must say that I hope you guys are all doing well as you are watching this. I spent quite a bit of time in our last episode talking to you guys about how I am hopeful that I will be able to knock this out here in just a couple of weeks so that we will be able to immediately step into Lufia and the Fortress of Doom, finish all of that up, and then either end 2021 with a brand spanking new game to launch us into the new year, or we'll actually start the new year with our brand new game. So kind of that first month of 2022. And again, I'm really sorry. I don't know what exactly Musashi is doing right now, but it is not involving anything that keeps his mouth shut. That's for sure. I guess some of you are probably thinking, but Rabbit, can't you totally relate to that? And the answer to that, friends, absolutely. So do you see me judging my dog? No, I'm just pointing it out. There is a difference between judging a behavior and pointing it out. That is a big thing that I definitely share with my patients as well, who sometimes feel a little targeted by other behaviors or statements made from peers, and I always just try to remind them, oh Lord, that is not what I try to remind them. What I try to remind them of is people are entitled to have their own opinions. People are allowed to make observations. I think a big issue in general is people project a lot of emotions to other people, and they make a lot of assumptions about the intentions behind actions or statements that other people make. And that is something that I have absolutely tried to be pretty deliberate about when I am referring to interactions or encounters that I have with folks. I try to extend them the benefit of doubt, and I talked a little bit about that in our previous episode, number 41 as well, that I think in general, specifically with social media, I was describing to you guys why I've kind of just disappeared from it a little bit. I've gotten quite a few questions about my absence on social media for a while now, where people have kind of said, you know, you were so, oh Lord, let me get my stuff together. And we do know that these light axes get the job done since they have that Dia 2 effect, and we have 2 of them. So we're just going to do a back-to-back Dia 2 and tell them to get out of our faces. And that should usher them out the door there. Whew, I don't want anyone else being petrified. I can't remember if gaze is the ability that applies that effect, but I don't really want to find out. So let's not let them hang out and mess with us too terribly much. But anyway, I was just kind of describing to you guys for a couple of minutes sort of my reasoning behind I wouldn't say it was abrupt. I kind of slowly receded from a lot of social media platforms for a while. And what on earth is this? I feel like we are just kind of running around, but you know, it works. It definitely works. And this at least gives us a chance to go ahead and get some heals out. And as I had mentioned in our previous episode, I will not make you guys watch an excessive number of repeat fights. We'll just use a few since we just got started. And it looks like there have only been 2 enemy types that we've encountered on this second floor of the Tower of Mirage, which is kind of weird because there were a lot of different enemies that really wanted to square up with us on floor number 1, which was hardly the time or the place for it because I was struggling. And I think they knew I was struggling and I had no idea where I was going. So they thought they would show up and get me a little mixed up. But they can't hold me back, guys. I made it. We're on floor 2 and it's onward and upward, literally as well as figuratively. So we will continue our advancement through the Tower of Mirage. And me just offering that final note that I recognize that some people were interested in the reasoning behind my semi-abrupt disappearance. You know, it's weird even saying semi-abrupt. It really wasn't. I've kind of been vocal for a little while that I'm a pretty chill, laid-back person. I'm kind of private, in my real life anyway, when it comes to confrontation. So maybe private's not the right word. I'm far from private when it comes to talking about things going on in my life or going on in my mind or on my heart. Those sorts of things I'm 100% forthcoming about because I talked about this as well. I don't believe in playing games with people, and I don't have it in me to have 2 personas or, you know, just dual people that represent me or dual energies that represent me. I kind of am what I am, and I think it's important for people to know what to expect from any encounters that they'll have with me. So I've always sort of conducted myself that way, where no one's ever had to really guess what my intentions are, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I want. I put everything out on the table, for better or for worse. I'm not saying it's always the best approach because some people really don't care, and it is a waste of time to share all of your heart with everyone that you encounter. A lot of people really don't care. A lot of people have their own things to process, and there's really no value in burdening other people with everything that you're navigating. But I do think there also is a time and a place to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and I've met far too many people that won't do that. Instead, they resort to bullying others to try to fill whatever void it is that they have in their life, or it becomes a competition and just a series of weird flexes of how you're better than someone else, or your experience with something else was far worse than what this other person is reporting, and it's just exhausting, you guys. I think real life is... Oh, hold on. Let me put my spiel on a hold here so we can recognize Tyrone's level gain, and thank goodness, an addition of 29 HP to him, which he kind of needed. He's so far behind in terms of HP if you look down at that bottom right-hand box there. 394, whereas everyone is at least in the 400s or above. He was really struggling and lagging behind. But we also got some agility and some intelligence, so congratulations, Tyrone. But yeah, what I was saying is just that in general, I feel like real life is just hard enough as it is, and I just don't got the time, and I don't have the energy to deal with people's overwhelming negativity, and I certainly don't have the energy to pretend to be something I'm not and try to manipulate people into believing that I'm something that I'm not. I'd rather let you know where I'm at, how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, and if people find it laborious to deal with me, then, you know, I wish everyone well. I certainly don't think judging others accomplishes a whole lot, and I think if anything, it's just easier for all parties involved to maybe just say, hey, this person's not for me, probably not a good friend for me, we don't really mesh, we don't really vibe, they make decisions I don't agree with, or they have an attitude or disposition that doesn't really work with my mantra. Sorry that our friendship didn't work out. Sorry that, you know, our encounters were not as positive as I would have liked them to be, but it is what it is. Sending you on your merry way with blessings, well wishes, and good cheer is what I wish would come about from the world. But, you know, then there's Twitter, and then there are certain subreddits, and, you know, it just is, it's too much for me. So I say all of that to kind of repeat the sentiments that I offered to you guys in episode number 41, that I am still here. I am feeling good. I'm doing well. I am just still kind of navigating a lot of uncertainty, and I'm trying to slowly rebuild my life, not just in the physical sense, but I think in the emotional sense and I wouldn't say mental. I'm not really struggling in that way. It's more just a sensation of being tired or a little disheartened, but I'm not going to pretend to have nearly the level of obstacles that others face, and I don't want to take away or detract from those experiences that others are presently navigating. You know, I'm not unique with what I'm dealing with. It's not something that millions of other people have not been forced to overcome, and oftentimes in far more dire circumstances than what I'm being faced with right now. So I say all of this from a place of humility that, you know, I'm just sort of sharing what all is going on with me. And what do you have to say? One of us flew to the west, taking the warp cube with him. Yes, I am well aware, because I did happily take that from him. So thanks for the little heads up. I honestly don't know where I'm going, but I don't know if it even matters at this point, so we're not going to worry too much about it, and I should probably not make you guys watch every fight. But anyhow, with all of those explanations out of the way, because I'm sure you guys get the point by now that my presence on social media is limited right now, but I am working on at least increasing my presence on YouTube. I'm hopeful that the end of 2021 and the start of 2022 is going to be fruitful in terms of us having just a whole lot of content that's going to be coming out. And I'm going to do my best to actually be posting on the community tab so that you guys know more of those personal updates coming out from me. And I will try to vlog more. That's kind of a big goal for me too. But let's suspend this conversation for just a second. Let's pin it and take a look at this new treasure we picked up called the Dragon Mail, which is armor made with dragon scales that nobody in my team can use. So it doesn't really matter. We got 10,000 gil, a sunblade, which we'll immediately check out. Oh, okay, if I can click and not just be all over the place. Sunblade, sword effective against the undead. So another one of those very specific weapons that have their place, right? Definitely not a bad weapon. I guess, do you want to lose a little bit of accuracy? It's like -5 to accuracy for +2 to attack, and it is effective against the undead. Of course, everyone now can use the defender to get that blink effect, so it doesn't really matter. Let's just try out the sunblade, and if we don't love it, we'll put the defender back on Rohit, right? No reason to boohoo too much about it. It'll just sit in our inventory, and then everyone can use it. So 7,600 gil, we got another cottage, whoop-de-doo. And I don't say that ironically, because the more the merrier, and I cannot believe that they get first strike, and then those pyralisks were like, absolutely not today. They were not feeling it. So, positives, happy things coming up with me after, of course, I drolled on and on about my situation and kind of what was going on with regard to me feeling like I just needed a break from social media and everything that it kind of entails. I have been sort of playing around with a couple of voice acting opportunities, which is kind of fun. I don't have anything specific to share with you guys yet. I've mostly been taking a lot of more educational projects, so, you know, providing voiceovers for like training materials for companies, or I've recorded a couple like phone line messages for some companies. I've done a few YouTube videos, just like top 10s, or I narrated like a couple of PowerPoints that people put up on their YouTube channel for educational stuff that they're doing. I would really be interested in moving into, now I should say this as an aside, I don't know if this would ever be a thing, but I'm just throwing it out there. I can be open with you guys, right? I would love to actually dabble in actual voice acting, like for cartoons and things of that nature. I just think it would be just a whole lot of fun. I think deep down inside of me, even though I'm kind of that geeky, research, analytics, data-driven science nerd, I love my video games, I love my fantasy books, I just am trying to chill and live my best nerd life. And sometimes I feel like being an adult just really gets in the way of that. And so that's probably also why I derive so much satisfaction from the channel, because I can relax, we can play games together, we can enjoy a good narrative or a bad one. We've had a mix of both on this channel with some of the games that I've played, but it's always a good time. It's always an experience that I greatly enjoy and greatly appreciate. Some of you maybe are like, no, it is not always been great, Rabbit. Let's not pretend that every game you've played has been wonderful or even entertaining to watch, let alone for you to play. I totally recognize that. But the point that I'm saying is, I think I've always really enjoyed creative pursuits. It's just not been something I've been able to do full time because, you know, in high school I was just so occupied with all kinds of extracurricular activities, and then in my undergrad I was a triple major immediately, and I worked throughout my entire undergrad as well as my graduate school programs. And then you go into graduate school and you're doing research for your thesis and you're working 13,000 gil, I will take it. And you know, just in between internships and credentialing and licensures that you're pursuing and starting a job, 12,350 gil, we're getting quite a lot of goodies, aren't we? And Thor's hammer, I will put my speech on hold here. Let's take a look at this. Hammer with bolt 2 effect, baby. Looks like Melvin could use it, which actually is not the worst thing in the world. Everyone can go ahead and just use the healing staff now. So it's not going to be something that Melvin exclusively has to mess with or worry about. Did I read the description for that? I don't know if I did or if I did not. Let's just quickly take a look at, oh yeah, of course I did. Hammer with bolt 2 effect. Doi, come on, Rabbit, 7,900 gil, and we'll grab our 8,135 and try to figure out how we get out of here. I think it was up at the top by, I want to say, where that robot was, but who actually knows? Who knows? But we're in no rush, that's for sure, so we'll take it all in stride and just chill. So, creative pursuits, creative endeavors is something I've wanted to do for a long time, because immediately, I think, out of high school, I just got so strongly on the STEM path, which I love and I enjoy, analytics, data, research, and helping people, you know, in a clinical capacity. It's been very rewarding, but it would be nice to be able to transition part-time into something more creative. I think even once all this COVID stuff is kind of subsided, which I'm hoping will take place in the next year or two, but who knows, with all this discussion of Delta and then Lambda, I am admittedly worried, not for me as much as a lot of my patients who are clinically depressed or who have real things going on in terms of either mental health or behavioral health, whether circumstantial or not. I've not been that overwhelmingly impacted by COVID itself. If anything, it's really solidified my job security. It's given me more to do, almost too much to do, to be honest with you guys. Was that everything? I think that was everything in there. It's given me almost too much to do, where demands in STEM have kind of really risen. And it's great if you're saving up a lot of money, which I guess we all should technically be doing. But there are a lot of people that have been struggling immensely, and I don't know, I'm just hoping that COVID will eventually go away, because what I was actually trying to say is I would love to get back into theater as well. I'm a really big theater geek. I think I told you guys in high school, that was what I did. So instead of participating in like art history, I wasn't in orchestra or band either. I was in theater. So I did a whole lot of plays and musicals and singing and dancing and choir. I loved stuff like that. That was more of my bread and butter in terms of being able to tap into the creative side of my spirit. But it's just not something you can really have as firm of a hold on in your late 20s to early 30s when you're trying to work, you're trying to maintain a household. Now I own a house, I've got all these animals. I'm going to be doing a lot of this on my own, since Andrew and I are going to be taking a little bit of a reassessment break or some time apart to regroup. So there's just not as much time for some of the things that I really would like to do that would allow me to fully tap into my creative side and creative spirit. But do not despair for me, friends, because I'm getting there. And that is kind of how this conversation started, where I was saying I started doing a little bit of voice acting. I've picked up a few contracts online, and I would really love to sort of make, even if it has to be gradual, that transition from more professional voice acting for educational stuff into more of the entertainment stuff. I think it would just be very rewarding for me. I know I would enjoy it immensely, and it would be nice at some point, I've talked to you guys about this for a long time, to be able to have, my internet presence be part-time. Right now, it is exceedingly part-time, where, with some of my positions I was working 60, 70, 80 hours. It's not going to be as bad once I am working from home and doing telehealth substance abuse, or I guess drug and alcohol addiction counseling. That is going to free up a lot of time for me, but it's still not a full pass to freedom yet. There's still going to be a lot to do, and I accept it, and I'm looking forward to it. I find my clinical work to be remarkably rewarding, but it will be nice, or I shouldn't say it will be, it would be nice if there was a way to only work like maybe PRN for my agency, and then have the flexibility to do some voice acting and, have my video game channel be somewhat profitable, where, this could be something I do for like 15 hours a week or even 10 hours a week, versus now it's probably closer to, over this summer, it's ended up being probably an average of like 1 hour a week. But at even my heyday, when I was uploading more consistently, it was probably more like 2 to 5 hours a week, between actually sitting down and doing the recording batches and then editing them. Probably 2 to 5, I would say. Okay, I think I've truly run in a circle, and I need to go back to the top, which is a bit of a pain in the butt because all these enemies are slowing me down. But that's okay. As I mentioned, we're not in any rush, and I guess the whole point of everything I'm saying is that keep your fingers crossed for me, you guys. I have so many changes coming for me, which in turn means a lot of changes for you all, right? But I think they're all going to be good changes. I'm hoping so anyway. I mean, I'm sure there are going to be some people that are not going to be happy with some of the games that I play or some of the changes that I'm going to enact. So for example, I've historically always had 2 games in rotation, and I already mentioned to you guys, I'm going to take a little break from that and just do 1 game at a time. Hence why we're going to focus on completing Final Fantasy 1 via Final Fantasy Origins before we go back to Lufia and the Fortress of Doom. And I know that was very disappointing for some folks who very much enjoyed Lufia more than they did this, and I hate that for them, and I am deeply apologetic for dropping the ball in that sense, because it's never really been an issue for me to alternate 2 games, but I'm just so behind on recording and editing as a result of everything that's been going on in my personal life. And again, we talked about this in our last episode, and I even opened with this for about flipping 10 minutes, that I'm very transparent, and I tell you guys where I'm coming from, and I tell you what's going on, and I am the first person to own my mistakes. And I know that my upload schedule has been so erratic. It's been incredibly hard to follow. Is she uploading this week? Like, what game is she playing? What is she doing? And I am hoping to make a very firm return to what things were like even just 2 years ago. And I still have had periods where I'm busy, when I was traveling a lot for work, and I told you guys, like, hey, I'm going out of town for 2 weeks. I will get as many episodes up as I can, but I will be MIA for a little while. And people have, for the most part, been understanding of that, but I think this has felt different, where there's not really a rhyme or reason to it. I will have maybe 3 weeks where I get 4 to 5 episodes up that whole week. Then there's a period of 2 to 3 weeks where I don't post anything. And it's not even just in terms of gameplay footage, but there are no vlogs. I'm not posting anything on the community tab. We already discussed this quite thoroughly, that I don't really have social media where you guys can still kind of see what's going on with me. So my big personal initiative is getting back in a schedule once I am working fully from home and focusing somewhat of part-time hours to the channel. It's not going to be perfect. because I do still work full-time even when I am going to be working 100% from home. Oh gosh, that fire is not really getting the job done, but I'm really not even paying attention. I'm just running my mouth, aren't I? We're almost done with this floor, which is actually good timing. We'll part ways. We'll part ways in a second. We've got to take time to celebrate Rogue Heat's new level with only 7 HP. But friends, he did get some intelligence, some endurance, and some luck. And what do you have here? Melvin got a level as well, 7 HP. Tyrone was flexing on them when he got his level with what? It was like 29 HP? But he did get some strength, some agility, and some more luck. I don't really know what the luck stat affects. Is it a big deal? Is it not? I don't know. But I've got to run my happy buns all the way back up there. I guess I could technically let you guys go, but why? We're having such a good time together, or I am anyway, which actually kind of segues into one of the things I was wanting to talk to you guys about, that I actually have a pretty robust list of games that I'm thinking we will pick up once we are done with Luffy and the Fortress of Doom. Because as I mentioned, we're going to wrap this up. We're focusing on one game at a time, at least until I feel like I'm caught up on everything going on in my personal and professional life with all these transitions going on. We're going to be focusing on one game at a time. And that's not to say that maybe, start of the new year, I won't go back to a rotating schedule. But for now, oh my goodness, I just couldn't even think about it. There's just way too much going on for me to be going back and forth, and I feel like right now with how intermittent my uploads are, it's just dragging everything out, and I want to have some really noticeable and observable accomplishments for you guys, because I think it feels better for everyone, right? Where I can strike off the list, yes, another game completed. You guys can strike off the list. Finally, I can start watching this series because the whole thing is done or nearly done, and it's not going to be a huge gap where I don't know what's going on or what she's planning or any of that stuff. So I really would like to still kind of alternate between two games, but it just can't be a thing right now. But it probably will be starting back in the next year once I've had some more time to kind of flesh out my situation and really root and anchor myself with everything going on with me. And oh yeah, look at that hammer. Did the final blow. I'd say that's a good way for Melvin to tap out, but we're not quite ready for that yet. I want to at least get to the stairs game. My goodness, that's one thing I will never get used to, the encounters. And you know what I just realized? Did I not tell you guys I would cut out fights? And here we are, where we really have not done a whole lot of cutting, have we? Okay, I promise I will cut out the remaining fights for this episode as long as we don't see any new faces. And we're about ready to start episode number 43. Anyway, I noted that once we get to the next floor, that's where we'll kind of call it quitsies here. But I'm excited about the fact that we're nearly done with this game. So I think the heart of everything that I've said in this episode, as random and sporadic and all over the place as this was, is that I appreciate you guys, and I am hopeful that the rest of 2021 and the start of 2022 should be significantly better. I'm finally giving myself permission to explore things I've wanted to do for a long time, but this overwhelming sense of Blue Dragon, what on earth? I think you need to go. I am not really feeling your face. Not at all. I don't know about you guys. I'm not personally feeling his face. He looks like he's up to no good, so we're going to have to murder him, which probably means we're also up to no good, but hey, we're the heroes of light. We don't have to answer to anybody, and I'm not about to start now with a blue dragon. So I'm hopeful about the future. I'm really looking forward to a lot of positive changes, and woo doggy, that was some big damage. So the blue dragons ain't nothing to mess with, but neither is Burl. So blue dragon, sorry, not sorry, you messed with the wrong one. Okay, can I get really game? Okay, I gotta go back in here, and then we will take the stairs to the next floor, which I guess will be floor number 3. No, my goodness, you guys. I know, we're so close. We can't cut out these fights that take like 3 seconds, right? right? Oh, you guys, I really do appreciate you. Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you for listening to my dumb-ass stories about my dogs or about crazy things going on in my personal life, about me being in theater and the horrible dances that I've performed in or songs that I've sung. I am excited about transitioning back into creative work. So hopefully I'll be able to get some really good voice acting gigs that might eventually catapult me more firmly into the creative side. I'll definitely keep you guys posted with regard to my journey. And certainly, if you guys discover any opportunities, send them my way. And he's just saying the same thing about his friend leaving with that warp cube. But okay, friends, we are now officially on the 3rd floor of the Tower of Mirage. So we are inching closer and closer to being able to locate the next, I guess you'd call him he's not the final boss, but the next big boss, if you will. The next big confrontation, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. We're inching closer and closer to undertaking the final fiend, to our knowledge anyway, that exists in this world. So will he be hanging out at this tower, or are we going to need to dig deeper to wrap our hands around Tiamat's throat, shake him, and be like, WTF, why would you do this? And make life harder for everyone? Who knows? But we will find out together in our upcoming episode number 43. So take care, be good, and I will see you guys there, friends, in our undertaking of Final Fantasy 1 via the lens of Final Fantasy Origins on the PlayStation 1. My name is Rabbit, and I appreciate you guys being here oh so very much. I'll see you soon.